Did you know that the penny in your pocket could be worth more than you think? Yes, we are buying these old, rare wheat pennies. And if you have any of these types of coins, don't even think about skipping this video. After watching this, you'll realize that you might just be the luckiest person alive. Most people watching this right now would never believe that a simple brown penny, the kind people toss aside without a second thought, could secretly be worth more than a brand new car. And that is exactly why you need to stop scrolling and listen carefully, because if you have a 1957 D-Wheat penny, you might already be holding something collectors dream about and fight over in auctions around the world. And the most shocking part is that millions of people have owned this coin without ever realizing how lucky they were. The 1957 D-Wheat penny looks ordinary at first glance. So ordinary that it blends in perfectly with loose change, old jars, and forgotten boxes, which is why it managed to hide in plain sight for decades, while serious collectors quietly search for it at coin auctions, rare auctions, and private collector auctions where prices climb far beyond what most people imagine a penny could ever reach. The year 1957 came near the end of the wheat penny era, just 2 years before the design disappeared forever, and coins from the final years of any series carry a special kind of energy in the auction world, because collectors know there will never be more, and as time passes, pristine survivors become harder and harder to find, driving competition higher every single year. This penny was struck at the Denver Mint, marked with a small D under the date, a tiny detail that means almost nothing to the average person, but means everything to collectors scanning tables at auctions, because that mint mark instantly tells a story about how the coin was produced, how it circulated, and how rare top-condition examples truly are. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's portrait seems familiar, almost comforting, but auction experts don't look at Lincoln the way most people do. They study his cheekbone, his jawline, the sharpness of his beard, and the clarity of every letter in Liberty and In God We Trust, knowing that even the slightest softness can be the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one that explodes in value at auction. Flip the coin over and the iconic wheat ears appear, framing the words 1 cent, a design that defined generations of American life. And when wheat pennies appear in rare coin auctions with bold wheat lines and original copper color, bidders know they are seeing something special, something that survived decades of circulation almost untouched. What makes the 1957 D-Wheat penny especially dangerous to ignore is that most examples were heavily used, scraped, dulled, and damaged over time, which means coins that escaped were dramatically rarer than the original mintage suggests. And rarity combined with condition is the exact formula that fuels bidding wars in elite collector auctions. Collectors don't get excited about average coins. They get excited about perfection. And when a 1957 D-Wheat penny appears with blazing luster, full strike details, no discoloration, and nearly flawless surfaces, it becomes the kind of coin auction houses quietly set aside for premium sales and private auctions where only serious buyers are invited. There are also subtle minting quirks and strike variations that experts hunt for. Tiny differences invisible to most people, but instantly recognizable to professionals who dominate auctions, and discovering one of these special examples can multiply a coin's value overnight once it is authenticated and graded. Grading is everything in the auction world because once a 1957 D-Wheat penny is certified at high level, it stops being pocket change and becomes a collectible asset, something investors track, something collectors insure, and something auction houses proudly feature in glossy catalogs sent to bidders across the globe. At major auctions, when a high-grade 1957 D-Wheat penny appears, competition becomes intense. Bidders raise paddles fast, online bids jump rapidly, and private buyers step in because they know opportunities like this don't come often, and when they disappear into private collections, they may never resurface again. Behind closed doors in private collector auctions, prices can climb even higher, because these are the moments when rival collectors try to outdo one another, not for profit alone, but for prestige, completion, and the pride of owning one of the finest surviving examples. What makes this story even more exciting is that many valuable 1957 D-Wheat pennies were discovered by accident, pulled from old rolls, inherited collections, or forgotten containers, proving that these coins are still out there, still waiting for the right eyes to recognize them before they end up spent or lost forever. As years go by, fewer untouched examples remain, and scarcity continues to push auction prices upward, transforming the 1957 DeWitt penny from an overlooked coin into a serious target for collectors worldwide. And now comes the moment that turns curiosity into urgency, because when a near-perfect 1957 DeWitt penny entered a high-end auction, collectors didn't hesitate. Bids surged, competition intensified, and when the final hammer fell, the price stunned everyone watching, confirming once again that ordinary-looking pennies could deliver extraordinary results. That single coin reached a value of tens of thousands of dollars, cementing the 1957 DeWitt penny's reputation as one of the most dangerous coins to ignore, and proving that if you own one in exceptional condition, you are far luckier than you ever imagined. So before you overlook that small copper coin, before you assume it's worth only 1 cent, remember the auctions, remember the collectors fighting behind the scenes, and remember that the next incredible discovery could already be sitting quietly in your possession, waiting for the moment it changes everything. Before you go, take a moment to check those old jars, drawers, and boxes. You never know where a 1957 DeWitt penny might be hiding, quietly waiting to surprise you. Coins like this remind us that true treasure doesn't always come in gold or silver. Sometimes it comes in the smallest, most ordinary-looking pieces, yet holds extraordinary value. If this story opened your eyes to hidden wealth in everyday change, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because there are countless more coins, secrets, and auction mysteries waiting to be revealed. Share this video with anyone who loves coins, because the next lucky discovery could be theirs or yours. Most people looking at a simple penny from 1941 would never imagine that something so small and ordinary could hide an incredible secret. But if you happen to have a 1941 DeWitt penny, you could be holding one of the luckiest coins in American history, the kind that collectors scramble for at auctions, private auctions, and secret collector-only auctions where prices can climb far beyond what most would expect. This coin doesn't shout its value, it doesn't sparkle like gold, and it doesn't demand attention, but that's exactly why it has remained hidden in plain sight for decades while savvy collectors quietly scour estate sales, bank rolls, and private auctions for examples just like it. The year 1941 was a turning point in American history, with the country on the brink of monumental change, and coins like the wheat penny were being produced in staggering numbers to keep the economy moving. Yet within that massive production, a small group of pennies minted in Denver, the D mint mark beneath the date, would eventually become highly coveted in auction circles for their rarity, condition, and the subtle variations that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait greets the eye, seemingly simple. But collectors don't just see Lincoln. They see the sharpness of his cheek, the contour of his jaw, the precision of his hair detail, and the clarity of liberty, and in God we trust. Even the smallest imperfection can make a massive difference in auction value. And when in 1941, DeWitt penny emerges with a perfect strike and full details, it instantly becomes the kind of coin that sparks bidding wars in collector auctions. Turn the coin over, and the iconic wheat ears frame the words 1 cent, a design that had already been cherished for decades, but would soon vanish forever. Collectors know that the final years of the wheat penny era are especially valuable when found in top condition, and at private auctions, the presence of fully preserved wheat ears and original copper color is often enough to send paddles flying and prices soaring. What makes the 1941 DeWitt penny truly fascinating is that most examples were heavily circulated, worn down, and dulled over the years. This means that coins that escaped were dramatically rarer than the mintage numbers suggest, and rarity is exactly what fuels competition in high-end auctions, rare coin auctions, and collector-only auctions where only serious bidders get invited. Collectors don't chase average coins, they chase perfection. When in 1941, DeWitt penny appears with blazing luster, sharp details, and no significant scratches or discoloration, auction houses know it's a showstopper. Such coins are often quietly reserved for private auctions or featured in collector catalogs, drawing the attention of serious buyers who understand that this is not just copper. It's history, scarcity, and investment rolled into one small disc. There are also minting quirks and subtle die variations that experts look for, tiny differences that can turn a normal coin into a rare find. Collectors who dominate auctions know these details intimately, and discovering one of these variations can multiply a coin's value dramatically once it is authenticated and graded. Grading is critical in the auction world because once a 1941 D-Wheat penny is certified a high grade, it ceases to be mere pocket change and becomes a collectible asset, something investors track, something collectors insure, and something auction houses proudly display in glossy catalogs sent to buyers around the world. When high-grade examples appear at major auctions, the excitement is palpable. Bidders compete fiercely, phone and online bids surge, and private buyers quietly negotiate behind the scenes, all because they know that opportunities like this don't come often, and when they do, they disappear quickly into private collections, often never to be seen again. Some of the most remarkable 1941 D-Wheat pennies were found by accident, pulled from old jars, inherited collections, or forgotten rolls, proving that there are still hidden treasures out there, waiting for the right person to recognize them before they are spent or lost forever. Scarcity only increases as time passes, and the remaining pristine examples become the crown jewels of auctions, drawing elite collectors and high-stakes bidders who are willing to pay extraordinary amounts for a coin that has survived over 80 years. And now, the moment that turns curiosity into amazement. When a near-perfect 1941 D-Wheat penny surfaced at a high-end auction, collectors and investors were stunned as bidding skyrocketed. Phone bids, online platforms, and private collector offers all collided, pushing the value far beyond what anyone expected. That single penny, just one small coin for 1941, was sold for an astonishing $50,000, proving once again that ordinary-looking coins can carry extraordinary power, fortune, and historical significance. So, before you toss out old pennies, before you ignore the small d beneath the date, remember the auctions, remember the collectors fighting quietly behind closed doors, and remember that the next incredible discovery could already be sitting quietly in your possession, waiting for the moment it transforms everything. And here's something few people ever hear about: die varieties. These tiny differences created during the minting process can make two coins minted in the same year and at the same Denver Mint look almost identical to an untrained eye, yet one could sell for 5 times the value of the other in collector auctions. Rare die cracks, doubled letters, or unusual striking errors transform a simple penny into a prize that can ignite private auction wars overnight. It's also worth noting that condition alone doesn't guarantee attention. Provenance matters. Some of the most valuable 1941 D-Wheat pennies have documented histories, showing they were preserved carefully by a collector family for generations, and coins with a verified background often fetch even higher bids at closed-door auctions. Imagine discovering that the penny in your drawer was part of a collection once prized by a renowned numismatist. That story alone can increase its auction value dramatically. The thrill of auctions is part of what makes these coins so magnetic. Picture it: a rare, near-perfect 1941 D-Wheat penny surfaces at a high-end coin auction. Collectors, investors, and dealers lean in as the bidding starts. Paddle numbers rise, phone lines buzz, online bids flood the platform, and private offers secretly negotiate behind the scenes. Every time the hammer moves closer to falling, hearts race. It's not just money. It's history, pride, and the possibility of securing one of the rarest pennies from the Denver Mint in existence. And the truth is, these auctions are happening constantly, quietly, often without public attention. Closed-door collector auctions, elite numismatic gatherings, and private estate sales are where the real drama unfolds. Prices for a top-tier 1941 D-Wheat penny have been known to climb into tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes surpassing $50,000, and each sale creates a ripple in the collector world, making the next auction even more competitive. One of the most fascinating things about this coin is that it bridges ordinary life and extraordinary opportunity. It's a coin you could unknowingly have held in your pocket, passed to a cashier, or found in a forgotten jar. And yet, in the right hands, it transforms into a prized auction piece that can completely change the fortunes of the person who owns it. That duality, the mix of the everyday and the extraordinary, is what makes the 1941 Wheat penny a legend among collectors. Collectors will tell you the hunt is part of the thrill. They comb through rolls from banks, estates, and garage sales, knowing that while millions of these pennies exist, only a tiny fraction are pristine enough to excite bidders at high-end auctions. And when one does appear, the tension is palpable. The room goes quiet, paddles shoot up, and whispers fill the air as everyone competes for a coin that carries not just copper and history, but immense scarcity and undeniable prestige. And finally, the lesson from all of this is simple but powerful. Never underestimate the pennies you come across. While they may seem ordinary, coins like the 1941 Wheat penny are proof that fortune often hides in the smallest places. Auctions, private deals, and collector circles are constantly reshaping what we think we know about value. That tiny coin you overlook could, with the right knowledge and timing, be worth far more than you ever imagined, possibly tens of thousands of dollars. The next time you open a jar of old change, roll through a box of inherited coins, or sift through forgotten collections, remember the story of the 1941 Wheat penny. Every edge, every mark, every detail could make the difference between a common penny and a historic auction sensation, waiting for someone smart enough to recognize it. Most people watching this video have absolutely no idea that a tiny brown coin sitting quietly in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or even a pocket right now could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a house down payment, and in some cases more than an entire lifetime of savings. And that is exactly why you need to listen carefully right now. Because if you have this specific 1953 Wheat penny, you may already be holding one of the luckiest objects you will ever touch without realizing it. And collectors around the world are actively hunting for it in auctions, private auctions, and closed-door collector auctions every single day. This is not one of those coins people usually talk about. It doesn't scream value at first glance, it doesn't shine like gold, and it doesn't look rare to the untrained eye, which is precisely why it has slipped through the fingers of millions of people for decades, passed from hand to hand, spent at stores, dropped on sidewalks, and forgotten in old piggy banks, while smart collectors, auction houses, and elite bidders quietly compete for the best surviving examples behind the scenes at high-end auctions. The year 1953 was a fascinating moment in American history, a time when the country was adjusting to a new era after World War II. Industries were booming, families were growing, and everyday coins like the wheat penny were being produced in massive numbers. Yet within those massive numbers, a small group of pennies minted in Denver carried characteristics that would later ignite bidding wars at rare coin auctions and cause prices to explode in collector-only auctions decades later. The 1953 Wheat penny was struck at the Denver Mint, marked with a small D beneath the date, a tiny detail so many people overlook, yet that single letter has become one of the first things serious collectors look for when scanning pennies at estate sales, flea markets, and even rolls from the bank, because they know that auctions don't reward common coins. Auctions reward condition, rarity, and hidden perfection. On the front of the coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait appears calm and familiar, a design that millions of people have seen countless times. But collectors who dominate auctions don't see just Lincoln's face. They see Strike's sharpness, cheek detail, jaw definition, and the clarity of every letter in God We Trust, knowing that even the smallest softness can change an auction price by thousands of dollars. Turn the coin over, and the iconic wheat ears frame the words 1 cent, a design that ended just a few years later, making every wheat penny part of a closed chapter in American coinage. And at auctions, closed chapters always attract attention, especially when bidders know that no more of these coins will ever be made again. What makes the 1953 Wheat penny especially dangerous to ignore is that most of them were heavily circulated, worn down, scratched, and damaged over time, which means pristine survivors are far rarer than the original mintage numbers suggest, and rarity in top condition is the fuel that drives prices higher and higher at elite coin auctions and secret collector auctions. Collectors don't fight over average coins. They fight over the best of the best. And when a 1953 D-wheat penny appears with blazing original luster, sharp wheat lines, full lettering, and virtually no wear, it becomes the kind of coin that auction houses quietly promote to their most trusted clients, the kind of coin that never sits unsold, the kind of coin that sparks phone calls, private messages, and aggressive bidding wars behind closed doors. Another reason this coin has become legendary in auction circles is the existence of rare minting anomalies and die variations that only trained experts can spot, tiny differences in spacing, lettering strength, and strike quality that can separate a normal coin from an auction monster. And many people have unknowingly spent these coins simply because they didn't know what to look for. Condition is everything in the auction world, and in 1953, D-wheat penny graded at the highest professional levels transforms from a 1-cent object into a financial asset, something investors store in vaults, something collectors insure, and something auction houses proudly feature in glossy catalogs sent only to elite bidders. At major auctions, when a high-grade 1953 D-wheat penny appears, the room changes, whispers start, bidders lean forward, and prices climb fast because everyone in that room understands they are not bidding on copper. They are bidding on survival, history, and rarity combined into one small disc. Private auctions are where the real drama happens because prices discussed there never make headlines. Deals are done quietly, and collectors are willing to pay shocking amounts to secure an example that completes a set or outshines a rival's collection. In the 1953, D-wheat penny has been at the center of more than one of these silent battles. What makes this even more fascinating is that many of the most valuable examples surface from ordinary places, old family collections, forgotten jars, inherited boxes, which means there's always the possibility that another untouched example is still out there, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be graded, waiting to shock the auction world once again. Collectors constantly search through rolls, attend auctions weekly, and monitor estate sales because they know that the next record-breaking coin doesn't always come from a museum. It often comes from someone who never realized what they had, and that thought alone keeps auction demand alive and growing. As years pass, fewer pristine 1953 D-wheat pennies remain. Some are lost, some are damaged, and some disappear into private collections, never to be seen again. And scarcity like that only drives auction prices higher, pushing this coin from a collector's curiosity into a serious investment piece. Now here's the part most people are not ready for, because this is where curiosity turns into shock and interest turns into urgency, because when one exceptional 1953 D-wheat penny surfaced in near-perfect condition and entered a top-tier auction, the bidding didn't slow, it didn't hesitate, and it didn't stop where anyone expected. Collectors fought for it, auction paddles flew up, online bidders jumped in, private buyers pushed the price higher, and when the hammer finally fell, that single penny reached an astonishing $80,000, proving once again that the smallest coins can carry the biggest surprises. So before you dismiss that old penny, before you ignore the small d beneath the date, remember this story, remember the auctions, remember the collectors fighting behind closed doors, because owning a 1953 D-wheat penny in exceptional condition doesn't just make you lucky, it places you one discovery away from holding a coin that once shocked the auction world and could do it again. Before you go, take one last look at your change, your old jars, and those forgotten boxes tucked away in drawers, because history has a strange way of hiding incredible value in the smallest places. Coins like the 1953 D-wheat penny remind us that fortune doesn't always come wrapped in gold. Sometimes it comes disguised as something ordinary. If this story opened your eyes, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another hidden treasure revealed through auctions, collector secrets, and unbelievable discoveries. Share this video with someone who loves coins, because the next lucky discovery could be theirs or yours.